Welcome to One Went the Other Way, a podcast about your journey in finances. I am your host, Zoe. We have Wanda and Peggy here today with us to talk a little bit about 401ks. Now, most of you have heard about a 401k or even have a 401k of your own, but why don't you start off with what a 401k is?
Okay, so first I want to welcome Zoe to our podcast because this is Zoe's first podcast with us.
Yay, welcome.
Yes, welcome, Zoe.
Thank you.
Zoe's been working with us for a while and she's on her journey to become a financial advisor herself. Yes. But this is she's new to our podcast as our host. So welcome, Zoe.
Thank you guys so much.
The 401ks, I love 401ks. I'm very passionate about our benefits at work. So a 401k is an employer-sponsored retirement account. A lot of you, like you said, a lot of people have them or have heard of them. And, it's a tax-deferred way for you to save money for your retirement. Most employers also put money into it. So it's a way to actually get some more money from your employer. So that's a good thing, right? And it helps you in your retirement. So that's the basis, like super general idea of what a 401k is.
Can I add to it? Peggy, you are passionate. You are passionate about workplace retirement programs. It really is one of the key advantages of being a worker in the United States. But let's not be too biased on a 401k. There's also the 403b, the 457, and the TSA. So there's lots of workplace retirement programs out there. You need to know if you have one, and if you have one, you ought to take advantage of it. And Peggy talked about employer matches, which are like fantastic. It's like free money on the table. We'll do math here early in the morning, right? If they're going to give you a 3% match on your retirement plan and you're making $50,000, $5,500, that means an extra $1,500 a year that you get free money if they're matching 1%. If they're matching 3%, $1,500. That's $100 a month. Don't leave it in your employer's pocket. Take it and set it aside for your retirement. So very important.
And then there are two main types of 401k accounts, traditional and Roth. They both come with their own unique tax advantages. Can you explain the difference between how these two types function?
So, I'll take that one. So a traditional allows you to set aside money without having to pay federal income tax. So any money you put into traditional, you're not paying federal income tax. You are paying your payroll taxes, that's 7.865%, but you're not paying federal income tax. So if you're in a 24% tax bracket, you're saving 24 cents of taxes for every dollar you're putting into that traditional.
Today.
A Roth, today. Today you're saving it, right? Because there's the future to consider, and we're going to talk about the future in a minute. In the Roth, you do not take that deduction from your income. So you are paying that 24 cents if you're in that 24% tax bracket. So that's the basic difference between traditional and Roth, Zoe.
Right. And a lot of people probably know the terms post-tax and pre-tax. Right.
I don't know. So I think that sometimes is complicated to me, post-tax, pre-tax.
Well, it sometimes it is. You have to really think about it sometimes, but I think that some people do understand that your 401k traditional, right, is deferred tax. So it's taken out before taxes. Pre-taxed. And then your Roth contributions are put into your 401k post-tax. And that's current taxes, like on your actual pay stub.
And then both of these are great options when it comes to retirement. And you've both mentioned before how we want to be able to have different buckets of money to be able to pull from when we get to retirement. Can you briefly talk about what this means and what are some ways to achieve this?
So if you put money into the 401k, as Peggy pointed out, you're going to pay taxes when you pull the money out. And this becomes one bucket, one tranche of money for you when you think about retirement planning. The second place that you think about taking money out in retirement is the investment account or the non-retirement investment account. Those dollars that you're currently paying taxes on any of the profit that you're making, those dollars that you can take out generally before you're age 59 and a half. Those are a different bucket and they're taxed at a different rate. A lot of times those have, and I'm not sure why I can't remember the word again, a cost basis that allows it to have a lower tax rate. So you got the traditional, and then you got the investment account. And then the third account is a Roth IRA that you never pay taxes on. Once you've put the money in, the income that you've made into that account, you do not pay taxes on any of the growth. Now, remember, you do pay taxes on the income that you made in order to put into the Roth. So this one has no taxes on it when you're looking at taking the money out for retirement. Again, traditional is going to be fully taxed. 100% is income when you're pulling it out. Non-retirement is going to have a cost basis, a lower tax rate, and Roth IRA, tax-free dollars. So those are the three buckets of money that you have to work with when you retire.
When you retire, you want to have these different buckets because they're taxed differently. And then that makes you be able to maintain your standard of living based on, you work with your financial advisor, you figure out what your taxes are going to be based on how you're taking from which buckets, right? And right. You throw in there Social Security for most people. Social Security also comes into play, or pensions. So those are just other buckets, but we're only talking about 401ks or also 403bs, TSPs, those types.
Can I add to that? When you're thinking about your retirement, Peggy, you said you're talking about your standard of living. And so you do want to start with the end in mind. I'm talking about my standard of living and what it is that I want when I retire. You have those three main buckets of sources of income to maintain your standard of living. Sometimes I hear that people think I'm going to have a lower tax rate when I'm a senior or retired. And that's not the case.
Say that, yeah.
A lot of people say that. Although the new Build Back Better bill actually gives us a senior credit, but that's a small credit. In general, you're going to have the three taxes. And as you mentioned, right, Peggy, people are going to get Social Security, and that's also taxed. So again, starting with that end in mind, the retirement standard of living, we want to think about how much money we need to get on a monthly basis in order to have that standard of living that we want. And then looking at our three buckets, what their tax rates are, so that we know for planning purposes, do I need to put a little bit more over here on the Roth? Do I need to put a little bit more on the traditional? Or do I need to put more money in this non-retirement? Given that sometime in your life you're going to get Social Security, which will be taxed, and given that if you have a retirement account on this side, this first side, you're going to have a required minimum distribution. You will have to take out a percentage of money out of that account. So you want to balance those three buckets to give you the standard of living that you want, knowing that you'll pay taxes, but making sure that you minimize your taxes to the best of your ability, given the current, tax codes and that kind of thing.
So going off of that then, when you talk to your clients, when would you say is the best time to start investing into these different types of accounts?
Now. So, I have now, yesterday, I have this thing that I always talk about, the art of investing, right? The amount that you put away, your rate of return, and your time. And between the three, time is going to be your most valuable asset, So always the question the answer to that question will always be invest now. Additionally, you want to think about how you want to invest. Again, if there's free money over here, you need to look at this first. If you can save taxes, you need to look at this traditional 401k first. Take advantage of that. Put that in your corner so that you have the time working on that account long term. And depending where you are, the Roth might be to your advantage. But interestingly, sometimes your tax rates are higher in retirement than they are when you're making income. So you want to balance those three places that you're putting money in. But the answer to the question is now. Start investing now, no matter how old you are. Yesterday. I do want to talk a little bit more about how, age in terms of putting money away. And you did not ask that question, but at age 50, you have the ability to invest more money. and they call this catch up. So you want to be aware of the rules around catch up because it allows you to use this traditional 401k a little bit more robustly, can I say. And oddly, I don't know why they did this, but age 60, 61, 62, 63, you have a super catch up. Again, over here on this side. But the counterpoint on it is if you make too much money, over 150, it has to go over here in the Roth. And so, again, working with a financial advisor to make sure you can fine tune and take as much advantage of a retirement program that you can every year, using time to your advantage, I think is always a good idea.
Yeah. And so, I think another thing that we should kind of touch on here is that a lot of people that know about Roth, and they know Roths are great, right? And people, oh, Roth's great. You're not going to have to pay tax on it, you take it out. And they just think that Roth is just so fantastic, which it is. I agree. However, sometimes you want to actually have the tax deferred in your 401k because it's to your advantage. So a lot of times some companies offer both. And so you'll see people investing in the Roth instead of the traditional. And we will get clients and then we'll have a conversation about that. And sometimes we show them that it's actually better for you in their particular situation for them to take the tax deferment now and invest in the traditional 401k. And then based on their income and eligibility, open up a Roth account outside of the 401k in order to take advantage of that. And they can do that sometimes by, partially they get helped by the tax deferment. So they're actually saving more money doing it that way. So that's just something else to be aware of. Don't think that just because your 401k offers you Roth and traditional, that it's better to go straight to the Roth. That may not be true. It will depend on your personal situation and a lot of different factors.
Right. And to that point, when you come into the office, we can actually model that and show you how this compares to that, how setting money in a traditional 401k compares to a Roth 401k, and how that impacts you long-term in terms of retirement.
Right. We also didn't talk about limits and how much you can save in 401ks, which is something that is also important. You can save. It's mandated each year. They have a little bump. Well, actually, I don't know if it bumps up every year.
Yeah, why don't we put that in the show notes? The brackets, the different brackets, and that kind of thing. That way, because there's a lot of numbers in there depending on age and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you guys both for joining us today. If you would like to speak with a financial advisor yourself, you can schedule time to meet with Peggy and Wanda at financesforreallife.com. You can click the schedule button on the top right of the homepage, and you can continue to listen to this podcast that we post every 2 weeks on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. Thank you so much for listening, and we hope you have a great rest of your day. The financial representatives of Finances for Real Life are registered with, and securities are offered through LPL Financial, member FINRA, SIPC. Investment advice offered through Finances for Real Life, a registered investment advisor and separate entity from LPL Financial. This material was created to provide accurate and reliable information on the subjects covered, but should not be regarded as a complete analysis of these subjects. It is not intended to provide specific legal, tax, or other professional advice. The services of an appropriate professional should be sought regarding your individual situation.